with Hammock Way of Life. And I'm really excited to talk to her about how she's utilized collaborative entrepreneurship and her skill, as she describes it, as a super connector in both her career and then into her entrepreneurial journey and great success as she kind of comes closer and closer to being on that hammock.
That's right.
Um, and so I'm really excited to sit down and kind of really pull out those pieces that I would describe that makes Janet what we would call a cofactor. Um, and that cofactor that can be either like circumstances or a medium or a structure or some external thing, right? Something that we really want to become in the structure that we're creating, but it also shows up in people. And I would describe Janet as a cofactor, right? Somebody who, through their really unique gifts and skills, brings people together in a collaborative way, very intentionally, very naturally, but very intentionally um, to create opportunities for people. Janet, I want to pass it over to you. I mean, you've had like a really interesting career, one that kind of meets the intersection of art and entrepreneurship and business, right? And has created a really successful and collaborative business that has allowed you to have the freedom that you want in your business, but also like really allows you to live in your superpower. Um, so give us just a little bit of background on your career and how you moved, from your career in art and entrepreneurship and into what it is today. And then let's like dive into some of those little pieces because there are, I believe, these really kind of key factors that has allowed you to really build what you've built.
Yeah,
So first I just want to pass it over to you. Tell us a little bit about your journey and where you are today.
sure. Yeah, thanks for inviting me in today. This is an interesting conversation already. I started out as an artist, a mixed media artist. I work with broken musical instrument parts in my work, and I started getting my work out there, and people wanted to know how I did it. I'm not trained in fine arts. I'm an expressive artist, and so I started helping people, teaching them the business of art, telling them how to get into shows, helping them, come up with all of the ideas for a show. And sometimes I would collaborate with them. We had themes, and I'd have multiple artists in there. And so I had a business called Art and Soul. Did that for a lot of years, part-time, while I worked at the Capital Region Chamber of Commerce as the Director of Entrepreneurship, and met lots of other people in lots of industries, and who kept encouraging me to jump off full time into a business. And so I decided that I wanted to work beyond artists at some point, and work with lots of different kind of creative folks. And so um, we joked that my business should be called the Hammock Way of Life, because I really want to be in a hammock in the next, at that time it was 5 years. Now it's more like 2 years. And so I called it the Hammock Way of Life. And a lot of people said, you're branding it wrong. It shouldn't be called that. And so I really stuck to it, and people get it. They just get what Hammock Way of Life means. And so Hammock Way of Life started out just like with the artists, being collaborative in shows and things, with coaches. I started out with coaches, and we had ambitions to do big things with lots of different coaches initially, and the pandemic hit and things shifted a little bit. I got sidetracked into doing business loans and things with people during the pandemic. And when I came out of it, I said, what is this business? And it was still collaborative and still around coaching. But what I had done during the pandemic was worked with lots of people around vision boarding.
Yeah.
And so I work with individuals in vision boarding, and then and so that's kind of where the business went. And now we have 60 trained and certified vision board coaches, and 40 in training. So about 100 around the
Wow.
world, who are trained in my methodology of vision boarding. So,
And so let's back up because I one, I love the intersection of your career in art,
yeah.
right? And the intersection with entrepreneurship and business. And just tell us why you believe and why vision boarding became such a central part of the work that you
Mhm.
do
Yeah.
and why it's so critical, you believe, for entrepreneurs, um, as they kind of begin their journey or take a look back at their journey, right? Why is that so important?
Yeah. So one, I want people to really be seen for their authentic selves. And that's really important in the work that I do. I'm non-judgmental and people are really seen in these workshops that I do. And the other thing is if you don't know where you're going, you can't really see the vision of the future. And so
Yeah.
a lot of people see things visually. Some people don't. Every once in a while I get someone who says, I don't see things visually, but they can still use words. And whether it's words or images, those things really emphasize whatever the goals are.
Hmm.
So seeing that, just like if you're buying a car, you see it on the road everywhere. You know,
You're giving them a way to see it visually as well.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right. And it's something that they can take away. I think a lot of times when, especially in corporate America, when you're in a staff meeting or something, there's lots of, rah, rah, let's go do this. And then you leave. And if you're not a visual thinker or you are a visual thinker, you don't have anything to really, that really sticks with you. You got a lot of words on a paper and you might do a few things, but then it gets lost. And so if you have something visual to look at every day, whether it's in your office or on the wall somewhere as a team vision board, you can
Mhm.
really use that as your compass, your North
Yeah.
Star to get to your next goal.
Yeah. And I know that you use a lot of methodology to get there, right? You're not
Yeah.
just leaving people out, to
No.
get there on their own. There is a whole
Yes.
psychology
Yeah.
behind it. And that
Yeah.
could be a whole nother episode,
I know, I
we
really
could
could. Yeah,
study
we use,
because
yeah, we
I'm
use business
fascinated
model
by that.
canvas, mind mapping.
Yeah.
We use, I've been on neuroscience podcasts. There's really so much methodology that's what we're
Yeah.
teaching. It's beyond my biggest
Right.
competition are people that go in and say, yeah, I can do a vision board workshop for you. And I mean, we bring in glue sticks and scissors too. I'm not saying that that's wrong, but we've just over 10 years learned that there's
Right.
a lot of depth that could happen with the vision boards. And it's just one tool that can get people toward their goals.
Right. And so I want to kind of take that path into how you ended up certifying all
Yeah.
these coaches in vision boarding,
Yeah.
right? So you had a lot of demand for doing this work within corporations and within
Yes.
organizations.
Yeah.
And so just kind of bring us into that timing and how you made that decision to um, to bring in other coaches,
Yeah.
right, and
Yeah.
certify them. So just walk us through it, a collaborative entrepreneurship like lens,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
you reach this point, so business, you have this demand and you can't personally keep up with it. So
Right.
just walk us
Sure.
through how that evolved for
Yeah.
you.
So a lot of times when clients call me, they say, "Can you do a day-long workshop?" And I can certainly do a day-long workshop on my own, but again, I always feel like we're better together. So yes, I can do vision boarding. That takes about 2 or 3 hours, maybe one morning, whole morning, depending on the volume of people. Um, but I'd like to bring in other coaches that do things like assessments, like DISC assessment and Myers-Briggs and culture talk and all sorts of things. So
Yeah.
and people that do improv and there's somebody in the UK that we're working with that brings in Legos into the creative environment and so and then HR teams that are doing other trainings they may want to do vision boarding so we've trained a whole team of people at Integra HR in our methodology of training so now all of their trainers are training as part of their day-long trainings and so we have a workshop coming up with 200 people, and I'm bringing 7 people with me because we have breakout rooms and there's a lot of logistics in a that large of a workshop. So yeah, that's sort of how it came about. Just not being able to handle it all on my own, and then but wanting people to understand how I do things a little bit differently. And so they learned the first person learned how to do it, and then it's evolved. And so some of the people that I trained way early on, I do ask people to renew their sort of membership every year. So we have to do a virtual vision board summit so that they can meet all the international coaches because we're all doing something differently. We have somebody that's doing
Right. And you're
AI and
keeping them connected. Again, Janet, the super connector.
yeah,
And I love, there's a lot of things that Janet told me about. So we talked before the interview about all these ways that she continues to connect people. Like in all of, you take a look at her website, right? She's promoting and highlighting and connecting people continually. And that's like probably a fraction of what she actually does behind the scenes in doing this. And I want to touch on one of those
sure.
methodologies that you utilize to like continually bring people into your life. Um, but but yeah, I so appreciate you kind of bringing us into the background of like how you decided that you wanted to collaborate, right, with other coaches because it expanded on the experience, but also expanded on the capacity that you could have,
Yeah.
right, to
Yep.
serve, you know, the organizations that were coming to you to do this.
Yeah, and it also broadens my network. So it's not all about me. It's a like as soon as I am part of their networks, then we each share each other's networks. So they have access to my network, I have access to their network, and that's how I get on podcasts. It's how I've met my book
Hmm.
publishers. It's how I meet people like
Yeah,
you, and so that really it doesn't take any work, not any, it takes some work, but it doesn't take as much work anymore because a lot of times my calendar fills up because someone said you have to meet Janet, right? So I'm not
right.
having to do it as much because
Yeah.
people are just saying, bringing people my way. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and you're meeting, you're connecting in a meaningful way. So you're actually getting to experience and getting to know people's work in a more substantial way than
Yeah.
simply networking, right? So networking's like the first step,
Yeah.
right? You're being around people, you're getting to know what people do, you hear about their work, but it's really in that experiencing each other,
It's
right? And building those relationships where you're able to have the capacity to connect in a meaningful way to collaborate.
Yeah, it's deeply personal sometimes. People put things on their vision boards and somebody might be working at their computer all day doing IT work and that they're a musician and nobody knows that because they're just sitting in front of their computer all day and has this creative side. I've seen that happen. I worked with some school teachers one time who were in a food desert in an urban area and they wanted the kids to learn about composting and gardening and all the teachers really wanted that, but nobody knew it. And so once they figured out they all wanted it, they created a beautiful garden. And so just seeing the depth of people's dreams and how I can help them. Somebody wants to sing and I know a theater company, like how can I help them get to that next level is really, really important and a big piece of this work. It always,
Yeah.
is really touching at the end of a session. If people share, people are willing to share, right?
Yeah. It's interesting because you really have to get to that next layer,
Yes.
right?
Hmm.
With people.
Yeah.
That surface level polished thing that we bring out to the world that we think is the relevant thing,
Hmm.
really ends up not being enough,
Right.
right? Not being enough to make the connection points that we need to realize,
Yeah.
how we might help somebody or how we could connect in,
Yeah.
and provide value to each other,
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
to
And
get to
not
know somebody.
And not everyone wants to share those dreams. I think some people feel intimidated by it. So if we have groups that I know where people don't want to share their whole secrets, and we can bring in cake boxes, or I have vision board kits, and people can put three-dimensional items in there, and also
Mm,
maybe not show all of their dreams, have some on the inside of the
yep.
box and some on the outside. So there's ways to get around that. But
Yeah. So I was asking you earlier about how you personally bring people into
Mhm.
your world, right? As Janet, the super connector,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
And of course, you're active in it.
Mhm.
It doesn't just happen,
No,
right? It
no.
doesn't people aren't just magnetically attracted to you. I'm sure that happens,
Yeah.
right? Because
Yeah.
people are talking about you and saying, "Hey, do you know Janet? You really need to know Janet." I'm sure that happens a lot, but you're really active
Yeah.
in bringing people into your circle. And
Yeah. And
tell
I did.
us,
Yeah. Go
oh
ahead.
no, go ahead.
Tell me what you were going to ask. Yeah.
I was gonna bring up the masterminds that
Oh,
you
yeah.
run,
Yeah.
right? So, as a really intentional way of getting to know potential collaborators and
Yeah.
partners and friends and just people in that valuable sphere that you
Yeah.
have, right?
Yeah. So I
Um,
started the mastermind group early on, and it's been an incredible group. I mean, I have this core group of people that are so supportive and such a foundation for what I do. And so we've been inviting people in as guest speakers. We've been inviting people as guests to stay, and some of them really resonate with us and do stay, and other ones just come in to speak and then just talk about us, in
yeah.
their groups and all that. But what really shifted for me at the beginning of last year, and I wish I had done it a lot sooner in my business, and I encourage everyone to do it, is find other tribes they're important. I belong to a wellness group and like a spiritual energetic group, and I belong to groups in the UK and Australia and all over the place. And so some
Yeah,
that are
right
really
here in
serious.
Rochester,
Yeah, yeah, and
Janet's in
Rochester.
Schenectady and
Yeah.
Rochester, it's Schenectady or not, it's not like they're kissing neighbors, they're
Oh, 5 hours
still
away.
far
So
enough away. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So, and I find, I'm going to do it for a year and see if it brings in any business or see if I resonate with the people in it. And if I like it, I
Yeah.
stay. There's one that she curates the meetings, the people. She knows intimately the people in the group, and she puts people together that really can collaborate. And so, it's all different kinds of groups. Some of them are more casual. Some of them are really open to connection, and other ones are more businessy. And so you have to find your tribe, and
Mhm.
but that has been incredibly helpful to find who I want to bring into to some of the groups, and it has really helped me expand more rapidly than I ever thought I could. So, and it's all through collaboration.
Yeah, I love that. I just love how active you are in that. And because of, that natural role that you kind of take on, people come to you,
Mhm.
right?
Yes,
Um, to to find those resources,
yes,
right?
yeah,
To connect with what they want and what they need and to be introduced and
yeah,
right.
yeah.
Um, and so it's an incredibly valuable service, and function that you really get to play, in that area. What challenges, eh, do you think come with this type of structure that you've built? So, just to give people context, if you've looked at the Hammock Way of Life website, or if you do later, I hope you do after this interview, um, you know, Janet has like core services, and she does a lot of um, a lot of this business coaching and vision boarding herself, but she spends so much time really highlighting other people's
Mhm.
skills and value. And the relationships and the collaborative relationships that she has with her network is really vast,
Yeah,
right? And it really depends on the relationships that she has with her clients and bringing people in, but it's very fluid, um, and very intentional at the same time.
mhm.
Um, and so, um, I think we can clearly see how it really works for you. But I'm curious if there are challenges that you've experienced along the way, right? That you think would be helpful for us to know.
Yes. So let me tell you when it works and when it doesn't work, right? So
Okay.
so I have collaborations where somebody wants to become a certified vision board coach and they have a skill that I need. This person happened to call me just at the right time when I needed video content. She wanted to become a coach. I need video content. So we did a trade, and she actually used a testimonial from a client who's growing. So not only did it help my client, it helped me, it helped her.
Yeah.
It's win-win-win, right? So that's when it works smoothly, when everybody wins something in that model, and we're all
Yeah.
happy in the end, right? And then when it doesn't work is when someone comes to me and says, can you not just promote, like I'll share anything, but I can't spend all my time promoting whatever it is you're doing. I know there's affiliate marketing and all that, but what that does is takes away from my boundaries around things. I've had people
Sure.
ask me to do things that don't resonate with, and I do this with vision boarding. What are your core values, and is your North Star? And I'm
Yeah.
very clear on that now. I wasn't always when I first started my business, and I would say yes to this and kind of shiny object syndrome. Okay, I'll do that. Yeah, I'll do that. And then I got distracted from what my core was all about. And even with the pandemic,
Yep.
doing business coaching was fine, and working on that loan stuff and other things. But really, my passion has always been vision boarding and businesses and connecting and all that. So I'm clear on that now. So I
Hmm.
just think those boundaries are where I could get lost if I don't pay attention.
Yeah. So, I mean, rabbit hole is a big word, that
Yes.
that comes up
Yeah.
for me.
Yeah.
But not, if you're not clear on the direction that you're going, right, and the values that you're aligned to, and you're probably, a visionary entrepreneur. Like
Mhm.
we would think about the collaborative roles. Like you have a vision for what you're creating, and
Yes.
you've brought in people around you
Mhm.
that that fit in really well collaboratively that support that. Now, they're mutually beneficial relationships
Yeah.
all around,
Yeah.
right? And you can see how they all kind of connect in
Yeah.
together, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and you have the capacity to hold all of that, right? As we would call a cofactor, right?
Yeah, yeah,
You are a super connector. You're really, really skilled at bringing collaborators
yeah.
together and identifying those opportunities and building all of that,
Yeah, yeah,
right? Building.
this is a great opportunity to speak to something about that we didn't talk about earlier, which I love to talk about, is that sometimes when I get in these rooms, I see other people discount a few people. They discount people with like that have accounting backgrounds or that are financial planners. Those people know a lot of people. Their clients could be your clients. So when they go, oh yeah, no, whatever, and they blow them off, I'm like, this is somebody I need to talk to because they
Right.
probably know a lot of people. And then same with the age gap, right? I have a lot of
Yeah.
knowledge. And so if someone sees me as too mature, or if in the same regard, if other people my age see someone as not having enough experience, that's a mistake, right? In both regards. So
Yeah.
just keeping an open mind to whoever is there in front of you may be your best contact or collaborator.
Yeah. You're right, right? Having that open mind about and creativity to see beyond the like, I need this, you have that.
Right, right. Yeah,
Right? I mean, there
exactly.
really is a skill set involved in understanding how opportunity can
Yeah,
connect,
yeah,
right? And
yeah.
these different layers and these different types of relationships that we can have with each other, right? And
Yeah.
I think that's where kind of inexperienced collaborators can really get stuck,
Hmm.
right? They
Yep.
can simply see like at the transactional level,
Yep.
right? Like, you're skilled at this. I actually need this directly. Here's how we
Yep.
might work together,
Yeah.
right? And really can't see opportunity beyond that.
Yeah, I've been in groups. Again, I belong to lots of groups, and one of them clearly there was somebody who did manufacturing, and I do vision boarding, and he did not see that there was a parallel there. But I worked for 13 years at a chamber where I knew the head of a manufacturing organization, and clearly made a mistake and not getting to that network, right? And so I see people make mistakes like that all the time, and
Yeah.
and I think that you really have to be open-minded about who you're right. It's not just transactional. So
Yeah. But there's definitely, but so there are people like you who can really, really deeply see how these opportunities and these lines connect,
yeah.
right? Most people don't have that skill set. They really don't. I mean, the creativity to really see beyond some of those surface level connections,
Mhm.
um, you know, it- there's a skill that we can build to do that. And then there's some people who have this really great innate ability to see those opportunities.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, I really, I mean, kudos to you, right? For utilizing that skill, not just for yourself, but for others, right?
Mhm.
Really take that opportunity to, I think highlight that for other people,
Yeah.
right? And to
Yeah.
take the time to pull people in, right?
Yeah.
And connect them with each other and with opportunities.
Yeah.
Um,
And it comes full circle. It really has the gift in all of it is that I don't have to work quite as hard anymore because I've given so much in my career that people give back. And that was unexpected. I didn't
mhm.
anticipate that. I didn't look for that. And it just is happening organically now. So
Yeah, yeah.
sweet.
So that clarity for you and understanding like what aligns. So back to that challenge of
Mhm.
when collaborations didn't really work out very well,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Um, so you have your own clarity journey, right?
Mhm.
Where I realized, hey, that's taking me off track. And I could have seen, you know, 10 years ago how it would have been really easy for me to get off track. What advice do you have for people, from your perspective, to ensure that you have the right clarity going into collaborations
Mhm.
for them to be mutually beneficial?
Yeah. Yeah, really have to know what your core values are. You have to understand where you're headed, and is that person going to be helpful in that or detract from that. And so I think just continuously coming back to the core values is important. And I think it's because I've worked with lots of business owners who were not clear, especially partnerships. I worked with a mother-daughter one time that the mother wanted to financially support the business, but didn't really want to do the work of the business. And they didn't know that going into it, or two restaurateurs who have a different idea on the menu. And, without having clarity around those things ahead of time. And again, I think vision boarding is a great tool to be able to see that clarity. And I can do it with couples and all of that, that should
Yeah.
maybe not be married and right, or whatever. So
I know I'm super curious about, exploring the process of vision boarding, in that early, we call it like there's puzzle piece clarity, that we use the puzzle analogy in
yeah,
collaborative entrepreneurship,
yeah,
right? And this, we don't have to build the whole puzzle, right?
right,
We think in entrepreneurship, like our job is to like create the whole picture,
yeah,
right? But the reality is we're a piece, right? We're a puzzle piece,
yeah.
and we have to get really clear on what our puzzle piece is. So
Mhm.
that's on our values, having clarity on the unique gifts and skills that we bring into it, right? Having clarity on what we're going after, right?
Right, right,
The role we play in collaboration. And there's contributor clarity, right? How do I show up to collaboration? What do I really bring into collaboration? What don't I bring into collaboration, right? There's that how do we show up, and plug into that whole puzzle.
yeah, yeah, and that comes back to the authentic piece that I talked to you about, that people are sometimes not seen. They might be seen as just one thing in this one company, and then when you see the vision board, they're like, wait a second,
Right.
there's that puzzle fit now because they had this and I didn't even know that,
You
and
didn't
so
even know that.
yeah, yeah, so it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah. And so exploring, right, through the process of vision boarding, like what do you see as the most surprising thing that people pull out of that they didn't really see before or others didn't see before? I'm not
yeah.
specifics, but like
That's a
the
great question.
layer.
I have answers to that. That's great. It's
Yeah.
a great question. Yeah. Yeah. So one of the things we do is we have people flip over. So we have people tear the message, the things out of the pages out of the vision or the magazines and just pile them up. We don't want them to gently cut things out. We don't want them to use as much thinking as it is feeling a photo or feeling the words of something. And then what we'll do before they glue it down or cut it out, we'll have them turn it over, and a lot of times that's where the messaging comes in. They might have cut out a picture of a puppy and on the back it said something like go with the flow or take time or something like that. One time somebody cut something out, he turned it over and it said between a rock and a sacred place. And he had been having some trouble in his life. He only came to my workshop because there were windows and he worked in the basement. And so he had the
What a
biggest message of
synchronicity.
all, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And so lots of examples like that where people found the message.
That feels like a metaphor right there.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it does. Yeah. So those moments are powerful and impactful and happen frequently in the workshops that we do. Yeah.
I love that. I love that. This has all been like super helpful. There's like a bunch of, I think additional areas that I would really love to like dig
Sure.
in, with you.
Happy to
I
do.
mean, as really an expert in collaboration and having built, what you've built and continue to build
Yeah.
through collaboration. Is there anything else that you
Yes.
feel like I ought to know?
Yeah, one more thing that I would just suggest is I end almost every conversation with how can I help you? And I don't think many people do that. People are in it for themselves and they think how can I get from you today? And they're thrown off guard by that question. So
Yeah,
I would just recommend other people, if you want to really know people, ask them
I
how you
love
can
that.
help them.
It throws us all off,
Yeah, yeah,
but it
yeah,
gets you thinking, well, how can I help you?
right. Yeah,
Right?
yeah,
And yeah, there's a receiving quality of that that's hard too.
yeah. Yeah, it is true.
That's
Yeah.
where it ends up hitting me, right? Because I'm like, how can I help you? Right? Like
Right.
that's my default. But that is also a default in, um, I think it hits on struggling to receive.
Yes.
And in collaboration, receiving as sometimes as hard as
Yes.
giving.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah. It's a
And so when
gentle,
you
yeah.
say that,
Yeah.
that question always makes me panic when I'm in a call and somebody is generous and say, "How can I help you?"
Yeah.
Right? You
Yeah.
know, and
Yeah.
I'm always like, I panic.
Yeah, 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 no, I get it. Yeah, yeah,
Isn't
I
that
hear you.
funny?
I hear you. I even see it physically how that might be a challenge for you, right? So, and here's why vision boarding, I think, again, it gets people out of their head and they're working, and you can have a conversation with them while they're working where they don't know that they're being helped or they don't know, but you just talk to them about things. So it's a
Yeah.
gentle thing. I've had people leave sessions with me as a coach and say, oh, that was a session. Like, it's fun. I sort of sometimes call myself the business whisperer. I'm helping them and they don't even know it. It's not, I cheerlead them, but it's in a very quiet, it's a softer way of working, right? And so I think, yeah, sometimes it's so gentle that you don't even know that you're moving forward. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. And the personal insights,
Yeah.
that we need,
Mhm.
and need space to do that. And it doesn't always happen in this straightforward
Yeah.
business training, become an entrepreneur. You need to have clarity on these pieces. Like I'm a foundational clarity coach, and it's a very, using a very directed way, even through values,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
But if we're only focusing on the narrow idea of what we think we're going for already,
Right.
right? And we ignore
Yeah.
the rest.
Yeah.
It's like convergent and divergent thinking. And if we come into getting clarity from a place of convergence already,
Mhm.
we may have ignored what could have happened, right, in a
All the
divergent
possibilities. Right.
exploration first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
having the opportunity to kind of step back and
Mhm.
do that,
Yeah,
right,
that's
has
such an
got to
important
be,
point. Yeah,
yeah.
the holding space piece of it is so important. It's really what I do best. It puts me in a hammock almost. So I have one client I come back to and they're like, you should really bring a hammock in here because when we're here, you could be in a hammock because you're just,
You good?
I'm holding space for them to take the time. Not nobody, but a lot of people don't take contemplative time to do this work. And so the people
Yep.
that do are the people that are achieving big things in the world. Yeah.
Yep. Or they get to the point where they're forced to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Where it implodes a little bit and
Right.
then,
Right.
you
Right.
know,
Right. The universe
and then it's
forces
mixed
them
with a
to.
lot of baggage.
Yes, absolutely. It could be injury, could be, yeah, lots of different things, right? Yeah,
Yeah,
100%. Yeah.
burnout, everything,
Yeah.
right? Why are
Yeah.
we doing this? What are we
Yeah.
doing here?
Yeah.
Does this matter?
They're forced to slow down in different ways. So why not take the
Yeah, yeah.
time? Yeah.
This has been really wonderful. I
Great.
so appreciate all of your insights and advice
Yeah.
on collaborative entrepreneurship. I want to, for those listening, put your contact information. Where would you like people to find you?
Sure. So hammockwayoflife.com is the best
Yep,
way to find me. And
yep.
then
So we'll
I'm
put that in
Jazzy
there.
Jan on LinkedIn and my record label name. You can find me under Jazzy Jan as well. We'll talk about that another time.
Ah,
And my
we
art name.
missed that
I
one.
know, I know. So there's lots of different, yeah, but those are the two that Hammock Way of Life on Instagram and Facebook as well. So yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll put all those links in the interview notes. I so appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Um,
You're doing great things. I
and
love what you're doing, and I want to stay in touch. So yeah, that's great.
yeah, I want to stay in touch too because I really feel like, we want to incorporate, what you're doing in that process of really unlocking,
Yeah.
right, the power of collaborative entrepreneurship
Yeah.
for everyone.
Yeah. And any way I
Um,
can help you or anybody in your network, let me know.
I love that.
Good.
Perfect. Thank you so much.